peepers, it's me again. Oh, it's me again. Wow. I was studying. But I was studying because I was looking up some things. Today I learned something. Yeah. I learned two things. I was speaking to somebody, and I was opening up to them about some a certain something that Satan had, what do you call it, teased me with, or tested me at, or what's the word I'm looking for? Tempted me. That's the word. He tempted me. He tempted my thoughts is what he did. He didn't like tempt me physically. He tempted my thoughts. And I had mentioned to this person what the temptation was. And how it puzzled my mind. But then I just, blew it off because I knew it was Satan tempting me. So after I had, hung up with this person, it kept gnawing at me. And so I got on my knees and I said, Lord, forgive me. I mean, if I said something that I should not have, please forgive me. And he come to my remembrance of what I should have said and what I should not have said. And so he said before I could, really be forgiven by him, that I was going to have to ask this person to forgive me for planting a seed of evil. And so I called them back up and I said, could you forgive me? And they were like, for what? I was like, well, I was explaining to you something where Satan was tempting me. And then I had to explain because they couldn't remember what I had said. So undoubtedly they weren't paying close attention. Or they were, and they just, But I told them, what I had said. And they were like, oh, yeah, I just totally, dismissed that immediately. I wasn't even thinking about it because, there's just no possible way, because we all know, who is. So I didn't even think nothing about it. And so I said, but can you forgive me? And they were like, well, yeah, sure, absolutely. I was like, well, thank you. And so then after I hung up with them, I got back on my knees and I asked God to forgive me, and he did. And then he explained to me why that happened. See, God will allow Satan to work in your life if you need to learn something. God doesn't do it. He lets Satan have his way. So really, God's not being mean, because God can't be mean. God is love, light, and all that, but he will pull back a moment and see what you'll do and let Satan, come in for a moment, and or his, shadows, his followers. And well, that particular thing was something that happened to me in the past. It was a temptation, and I had said it to this person. Well, I did everything I was supposed to. I did all right. I passed the test. But there was 2 lessons in that test. And it took me a moment to find the second lesson. The first lesson was when Satan tempts you with something and you've caught it and you rebuke it, you don't repeat it to someone else because it plants a seed that can be watered by somebody else. And I didn't want to plant that seed. So I asked for forgiveness. And when I asked for forgiveness, I had to ask them and then go to God to forgive me so that he could remove the seed. And he did. So, but there was another lesson in there. And it took me a moment to find it. Well, the lesson was the fact that, first off, the person I was talking to is, someone I know very well. And very Christian. Very Christian. And to me, I value their input. Well, he brought to my attention that this person said, I dismissed it. I didn't even think about it. I thought no more about it. I didn't even bring it to remembrance because I knew there's no way. Because we know who. And, well, it's not you. And I'm like, okay. So I was trying to, I was remembering that, and he was bringing it to my forefront. He said, this is the same prime example of how they treated Jesus. There is no way it could be you. There's no way, because you do not fit the description. You do not fit the description. I'm like, he said, Jesus, I wanted you to feel what it's like to be told you are not. Nor could you ever be that person. So that you would get an idea and a feeling of what Jesus was going through when the Pharisees and Sadducees and the people around him, even his own family members, could not accept him as the Messiah. He was a carpenter's son. He was born in Bethlehem. He walked around with sinners. He sat with sinners. He talked a lot of talk, a lot of smack, He did all kinds of things. But there's no way, because he didn't fit the bill. He didn't fit the description that was prophesied. Okay? He was supposed to destroy evil and all the enemies of Israel, and he was supposed to be this conqueror, this, king, this warrior, but this carpenter's son who had no money, who walked around and, with a bunch of hoodlums in their own little cult. There's no way. He's not the Messiah. So that was what he also was having me feel, the rejection. And when this person said it, I was like, I didn't think nothing about it. It was just, but it was till God brought it to my attention forefront that the words that were said, I dismissed it immediately. He said, this is how most Christians are about facts. The same way they were about Jesus. Jesus was a fact. and they dismissed him. He says, Jesus was my son, but they dismissed him. Immediately, it could not be. He didn't fit the description. It's not according to their scriptures. He says, think about that. That just blew me away, because true, that is how the Jewish people treated Jesus. There's no way. He didn't fit the bill. He didn't fit the description. So this carpenter's son was committing blasphemy when he said, that he was the Messiah. And he did say he was the Messiah. He said it to the woman. For the first time, he said it at the woman at the well. She said, when the Messiah comes, he'll tell us all things. And he says, it is he whom you are speaking with. And I'm like, so he revealed himself to a woman at the well. I mean, even his own disciples, he never revealed himself to. In fact, all he said was, who do you say I am? That's what he said. I think it was to Peter. And not within a few moments later, he told Peter, get thee behind me, Satan. So he never revealed to his disciples who he was. He just, who do you say I am? And who do you think I am? But he never told them. But he did tell the woman at the well. He said, it is I who you speak with. So, and that's when she's like, so, yeah. Today I learned 2 lessons, not to speak about things that Satan tempts me about, because you're planting seeds for others. And then those seeds can get watered by other evil spirits working through people. And so you have to ask the person for forgiveness if you do it. And then you ask God for forgiveness, and then he can remove that seed that was planted. And so it got removed. And then the second one, which was the quick dismissal. How Jesus was quickly dismissed, the same way what I said was quickly dismissed, simply because Scripture says one thing and they're taught one way, and it didn't fit the bill. It didn't fit the description. There's no way. It's absolutely no way. Well, to me, of course, there's no way. Who knows, but no way, because we know, and God knows. But it helped me understand something that I had been, pondering about. How quickly Christians, Jewish people, people of faith, or people of belief in God and Jesus, how quickly they can dismiss something as not truth, simply because of how they believe. They don't take it into any account. And that's why Jesus was crucified, was because, well, he don't fit the bill. He's not a conqueror. He's not a king. He's not carrying a sword. He's not killing our enemies. They weren't thinking of some kind of spiritual, redemption. They wanted a physical, all-out war, kill people, get rid of them, torture our enemies. And God is not evil. So why would he come killing people? So I'm like, good one. But that's how they thought. It's a Human thought is negative. God's thought is positive. You know, we think so differently than God. God's way of doing things is beyond our comprehension. And the way he speaks and the things that he puts down is it's not human. So he is so wise. But I thought I'd share with you my little nuggets that I learned today. It was great, you know, just learning it, understanding what it meant when, you know, people would not accept him as who he was. You know, you read it, but you don't really understand it until someone dismisses you, just dismisses your words, you know. And like I said, when I was speaking to this person, I did not even think twice about what they said. It wasn't until after we hung up, I asked for forgiveness, I sat down, and I was talking to God, and God said, "What did you learn?" And I told him, what I learned not to do. And he said, "What else did you learn?" And I'm like, he said, "What did this person just say to you?" And I told him what this person said to me about dismissing it and stuff. And he says, "Exactly. They gave it not a second thought. And that's a normal Christian, normal religious act of dismissing something that could have possibility." Just, and I'm like, the possibility. He said, Jesus was the Messiah. He was my son. And the Jews did the exact same thing because it's written one way, and that's the way it was translated. And that's the way that they're teaching. He said, but when Jesus came, he was nothing like what they were expecting. They were expecting a physical destroyer, not a spiritual destroyer. I'm like, good one. So anyway, I thought I'd give you my nuggets. That was my nugget, and it helped me be able to understand and see some value of what they did to Jesus and the struggles he had to go through in order to get to the cross. Okay, these are some of his struggles. And then once he got to the cross, oh, what a struggle. It was a destiny. That was something, of course, everybody's hoping, that those people would wake up and see who he was so that he wouldn't have to die on that cross. Even he did when he said, "Father, if this cup can go away from me, take this cup from me. But thy will be done, not mine." And, but yeah, that was an interesting lesson today. So God gives you all kinds of lessons in different ways, shapes, or forms. So just be on the lookout. You never know when one's going to go whap and go, oh, wake you up. I love you. Y'all have a good night. And man, I wasn't expecting this to be that long. Thanks for listening to my babbling. Y'all have a blessed night. And remember, Almighty's listening.